Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Blazer Victory Podcast. John Duncan here, and I'm joined, as always, with my co-host Darion Smith. And Darion, we've got another loaded episode for you guys, but hopefully we will be able to keep this episode for around the 30-minute mark. But hey, that's to be determined. But hey, Darion, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. Had some good church this morning. Ate some good food, and ready to get into some good football talk. So
yes,
always good to be here with you, breaking this thing down, baby.
Yes, well, let's go. Well, we'll go ahead and, hey, drop it again. Hey, if you guys haven't heard, we did drop our Blazer Victory podcast merchandise, whether it's a T-shirt, hoodie, long sleeve shirt, whatever. You can go to www.storefrontier.com/blazerpod. And again, I will put that link in the description of the podcast notes, and click that and go get you a T-shirt and help support the show. But Darion, we did get an announcement on Twitter just this past week that Cameron Faison, a JUCO running back, is now actually enrolled at UAB. Coming over from the JUCO from Dodge City out in Kansas. Does anything pop off to you about Cameron?
Oh yes, of course. I'm curious to see, since he's enrolled now, how they're gonna do his classification and red shirt, and how they're gonna look. And then it's interesting because we have such a loaded running back room, so he must have a lot of confidence and betting on himself that, hey, I can come in here, I can still make a difference, even though I see all these good running backs in here.
Right.
But also just looking at his film. He is he reminds you a lot of school.
He does.
Jermaine Brown, man. He's I believe he wore that number 1. He was a sleek looking running back, a lot of speed, a lot of shiftiness, a lot of fight in him. So just think of school, and if you remember school, if you go back and look at his film coming out of high school, even though Cameron is coming out of junior college, it's almost identical. The shiftiness, the speed, the breakaway speed, the breaking, the tackles,
right?
The maneuverability. I think he's a great pickup. I think he's going to be an all-purpose guy. Probably screen, slot, return game. I think he can do all of it. And just looking back, I saw that he had some pretty big offers coming out of high school too. So he had a lot of D1 offers from P5 schools.
Yeah, I think South Carolina was one of those offers, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct. And so he had a lot of buzz around him. And to just add to the ammunition we have in the running game, I mean, can't beat it, baby. Like it just shows to where we are at as a program, that guys like that have to come in and they have to compete to try to get some kind of playing time. Back in the day, it was like those guys coming in, they expecting to start.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're hoping to get on the field, and it's because it's so much talent. It's not a knock against them, but they have to prove so much to just get playing time, not even start. And I think we should just take a moment and just celebrate that fact.
I agree 100%, Darion. I mean, it just shows the loaded depth that we have at that running back position. And guys, if you missed it a couple episodes ago, we dropped our offensive preview for the UAB football 2022 season. So definitely go back there and check it out and just, hear all about that running back talent that we have. Not even just Debo and Skull, behind him, AJ Gates and, Lee Witherspoon, who we'll get into him in a second after this second scrimmage. But I mean, yeah, that is just a loaded backfield in that running back room. And this guy, yeah, I agree 100%. He does remind you of Skull. You look at his size, he had 5'10", 165, but he still has that pop and speed. But yeah, definitely can't wait to see, get him, he's enrolled. As of right now, August 21st, he is not listed on the 2022 roster. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see as far as, how redshirting process is or what, UAB decides to do going forward with Cameron. But definitely great to get him, and just adds, to that running back room depth.
What I realized with that whole process, especially somebody coming from JUCO, I never knew they had so many different color shirts. You got the
Yeah,
red
you got
shirt.
gray shirt. Hey, you got all of them, no?
And it's more than that. I remember looking at the list, and it's a different reason for a different one. So he might have gotten gray shirted or something like that, and you probably see him pop up on the roster at some point in time, or may see it next spring or something. It's they have to work those numbers out based on how many scholarships they're able to give and how they want to try to work it out, what they're trying to keep available. And so I'm pretty sure it's one of those scenarios going on.
Yeah, definitely glad you said that. But hey, let's go ahead and get into the end of fall camp. Fall camp has officially ended now that they had their last scrimmage on Saturday. Coach kind of had that thing wrapped up. None of us could get out there, which is okay, completely understandable. You're getting ready, getting that last, really good warm up heading into the season. But UAB did put out just, a couple notes and news from that scrimmage. And we'll go ahead and just dive into that, Darion, and just kind of, go over what UAB released from the scrimmage. And the first thing that kind of stands out to me is that really it kind of looks like the offense kind of won this scrimmage, which in my opinion is great to hear because really, for the first scrimmage that you were able to go to, Darion, it kind of does seem that the defense kind of won that scrimmage, especially with the interceptions, Will Bowler and everything, just the defensive speed. We saw that, or we heard that the offense was able to move the ball, a good bit on the defense, but overall it seems like the defense won the first scrimmage. And then here we are on the second scrimmage where it kind of looks like the offense kind of fought back and really kind of took over this scrimmage.
Yeah. So I remember, from the first scrimmage, what was so encouraging to me is I'm so used to the scrimmages being the defense dominating so much of it.
Right.
But from the first scrimmage I saw, it was a lot of back and forth, and then I saw the defense holding when they needed to.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, even though the offense was able to move the ball, first downs, they was getting first downs, but the defense wasn't necessarily letting them score, or the defense was turning them over in certain instances.
So kind of like a bend but not break kind of mentality.
Exactly. It was like, yeah, you can get a field goal or something out of this, but you couldn't. It wasn't too many conversions on fourth downs, or like the defense did a good job. And that's what I wanted to see from the defense from that first scrimmage was how was our D-line going to be able to hold up, and especially against our offensive line. And they did a good job when I said showcasing their speed, being all over the field. It just instilled a lot of encouragement. But I really like I said, from the offense, it was clean. Because you got to think, in scrimmages, y'all trying to figure out you're too deep or whatever.
Right.
But I guess with the spirit of competition being in the building, everybody was on their A games. It was hardly any flags. It was hardly any miscommunication or people lined up wrong. That is so encouraging to see because it shows that you have a great communicating team that's well led, that's focused and locked in. That's what you need from an offense.
Right.
Because we all know as soon as you get penalized and you get set back 5-10 yards, it's hard to make up that distance, and it kind of kills the drive. So we didn't have a lot of that. So just going into that second scrimmage, it seemed like that they was trying to more so establish the two, which is going to be hard to do with this team because it's like we're like 5 deep at each position. It seems,
right.
it seemed like we got so many guys that can play in that rotation, but what you think? I think that from some of the notes I saw, it seemed like Dylan may have solidified himself.
I think he has, and Steve Irvine even said on his Twitter account that Bryant Vincent was going to announce probably early this week. You guys are probably listening to this Monday morning or Tuesday morning. Probably by now, Bryant Vincent has probably announced that Dylan Hopkins will be the number one. But it is worth to note that. Vincent has said that he's wanting to play multiple quarterbacks. So, hey, Zeno, and hey, I got to go to the practice facility Friday to check out practice, and hey, Zeno can spin it. He can spin that ball, man. It was just great getting to see him in person again. He looks. Hey, if Dylan something happens with Dylan, I think we're going to be in good hands with Jacob Zeno. But I do think that Dylan has kind of solidified himself as QB1, at least, heading into the Alabama A&M game, but expect an announcement shortly if you haven't heard one already.
Right, and he's earned that from last year's play,
Yes.
leading up into how he's been doing this year. He's earned it. He's been with this team for a while, but I like to see that him and Zeno look so similar.
Yes, they do.
When you go out there and watch them, they kind of have the same speed. They have the same command of the offense. One thing I did like about seeing about Jacob Zeno, sometimes you get transfers coming in and they kind of think they're above, if they went to certain programs or they was this certain highly rated recruit coming out of high school. But just listening, talking to Steve and hearing about his character and me seeing him, every time he was on the sideline, he was so engaged.
Mm-hmm.
He was always talking, always cheering, always just trying to help and get with somebody. He was picking up trash. He was doing everything to be such a positive leader, and to me that stood out, especially as somebody that transferred over and could have seen him in another way. No, he was completely humble. He was communicating. He was in command. He was just doing whatever he could at any time. So big props to him for being that light. Even if he doesn't start, he'll still be able to play, and he has to be ready to play. And like you said, I have 100% confidence in him. Like just seeing how he conducts himself as a young man.
Agreed.
Not only how he plays football, but I wouldn't be worried if something was to happen. And just looking at, I think we can kind of project the rest of the offense and the defense and see. With defense, it's almost as if I don't even know if it matters if someone starts or not because we got so many guys. It's like they're going to be rotating in so many guys. That's the point being. They're going to rotate in so many guys that, everybody's going to be able to play. I think on offense is more important, especially offensive line-wise. I mean, we're deep, but you have to have a unit, a cohesive unit. We have a lot of returning starters there. I'm just so pumped and excited. Oh, and I love reading from Steve. He said a lot about like our young talent.
Yes.
That we have waiting in the wings. Iverson Hooks, Travion Miles, guys like that. They talking about the plays that they've been making. I'm just so happy to hear that, man. We just got those guys. We're loading up already. We have them, and they're gonna get a year in the program because we're so deep. I doubt they'll be able to play this year. But to get them the red shirt and get them familiar with everything,
right,
and get them in that weight room, and then we can unleash them in a year, man. That's how you build at a program like UAB.
It really is, and also just to kind of agree with what you said last week, Darion. Going to practice on Friday, even though it was a very, very light practice because they're trying to take it easy before that last scrimmage, of course, but it seems, just walking around, every position group seemed to be dialed in. Like it's like they're already in game mode, now. Like they were treating that scrimmage on Saturday like a real game, and that's
right.
what you want to see and hear out of your program. It's like I think these guys are ready, and I think they're ready for a breakout 2022 season. I just can't wait to get to September 1st and for everybody to see this team in action. Like I'm just so pumped, man. Everybody just seems dialed in and just ready to go.
So what did you think about the overall environment? When I was there, it just seemed so positive and just.
It was, dude. Everybody was clicking with each other. Like like you said, you saw Zeno clap and cheering. Everybody was cheering on their teammates. There was I didn't see any head down. Like everybody knew that, hey, it's game time. Hey, I might be, 2 or 3rd on the depth chart, possibly, but hey, I'm still going to get in because this team is so deep that everybody is going to get their chance. And hopefully against Alabama A&M, get a lot of chances.
Right.
Get that game out. Yeah.
That's the hope. But you know what? I don't want anybody from Alabama A&M that may be listening. They may hear this that think we're overlooking them. We're excited. We're pumped up to play. We don't overlook anybody. I mean, y'all are a threat to beat us just as much as any other team. So,
hey, and you want a statement real quick, Darion, too? Hey, we all remember that 2019 game against Alabama State where UAB very well could have lost that game. So, hey.
Exactly. We know how it can go. It's football.
Right.
But and y'all, and they put on their cleats and they put on their pads. That's the way y'all guys do. And they train. They worked hard for their opportunities. That's why I want us to go in and crush them.
That's right, man.
That is the reason. So us saying that it's almost like a sign of respect. I don't want to listen. I don't want to give y'all hope. I don't want to give no team hope. Whoever we play, I don't want any of them. So I want us to go in and crush them. That's what I want.
And just real quick too, hey, next week I cannot wait for you guys to hear the guest that we're going to have on to discuss Alabama A&M in that program. It's a guy I really respect, and I will just leave that as a little cliffhanger into next week when we start our interviews for the season. I believe we've got them lined up every week. Knock on wood, Darion. So I'm definitely excited for Blazer fans to. And just say Conference USA fans, college football fans, just to listen in and of the guest lineup that we have this year for the UAB 2022 football season. I cannot wait for you guys to hear it, and it starts next week with our Alabama A&M preview. But real quick, Darion, just a couple notes that I wanted to bring up. Just hearing, from what UAB put out about the scrimmage Saturday is Lee Witherspoon. Man, evidently he had a 45-yard touchdown run. Just going back to that running back depth, I mean, hey, Debo, Skull, AJ Gates, we heard about you told us about last week, and now you got Lee Witherspoon. I mean, but people, you're forgetting about Zeus Perryman too. Like, there's so much depth in this running back room, and hey, if these running backs are performing well in these scrimmages, you know what that's got to say about those big men up front. It means that they're doing their job too to be busting these plays. Yeah.
Yeah, man. So when I was there, they were creating creases left and right. It was a crease for everybody to run through. I'm like, man, but our defense did a good job of yielding at the right time and saying, hey, all right, let's shut this down, And our defense did a good job at that scrimmage of not giving those big plays up or whatever. But I like how they described Lee Witherspoon's run. They say how he reversed field and it was a highlight play. And I remember seeing him. I was like, okay, there's Lee Witherspoon. At that first scrimmage, like he was flashing, and just hearing how all the coaches talk about how he's been getting back to himself after breaking his leg. He broke his, he was out after transferring, and after having a good spring, he broke his leg and wasn't able to show his stuff. I think we can legit have a 4 running back rotation, 5 running back rotation. Like I know that's kind of unrealistic to have 5 running backs. What I mean is we have 5 running backs that can play.
Exactly, like that. You could, like really all 5 of these guys. I mean, they could go start at a lot of other schools right away. You know what I'm saying? Like
exactly.
So it's just great to have that, knock on wood, you don't want any injuries, but I mean, hey, you're deep. So, but yeah, looking forward to seeing what those guys in the backfield do all season long. And in our offensive preview, I really think Skull is going to have a breakout year. Of course, everybody in the world knows what Debo can do, and I think he's going to continue to do big things this year. But I'm telling you, man, y'all need to watch out for Skull. He looks like he's going to break out this year, and I cannot wait to see that happen. I anticipate it happening.
Right. And who was your official guy on defense, your breakout guy?
Fish McWilliams, man. I'm still expecting big things to kind of let him just be that leader up front on that defensive line. So I hope I get to see that this year, man. I really do think Fish is primed to have a big year, and it's just great to see him kind of, speaking up in practice, trying to be that vocal leader up front. But you got some guys, man. I mean, we kind of hit on last week on our defensive preview that the defensive line might be the not the weakest, but the least experienced, at least for starting experience. But I mean, there's some dudes up there, man. You got Tuazama, coming in. I think he looked the part. So you got some dudes up there, but I definitely expect Fish McWilliams to kind of take charge and hold up that line up front. So
right,
we'll have to see.
Okay. My guy is Kobe Dempsey. I have bought my season tickets to the Kobe Dempsey train. Like everybody on board. That is my guy that I predict. That is going to have a major impact on the team this year on the defense. So, and on offense, who was the guy I was officially going with? I'm gonna go. This offense is a tough one because it's easy to just be like Debo,
Well, how about one of those big guys up front? Who do you expect the most improvement, I guess. I really I think Sidney Wells, man, seeing him in person, I'm like, man, this guy looks like he's on a mission. After
Right.
not playing a lot of last year, I think he's ready to come in and just take it over.
Okay. And independent, Sidney Wells, I like that one. I'm not doing this because I'm not biased. Because he's a center. I swear, and it's not because he wears the number 75. But Will, I just like his command on the team. I've talked about it.
Yeah.
I like his pulse on it. I like a guy that knows the play and is confident in knowing each play that knows the audibles, and so it allows them to play fast and communicate quick and react to pressure fast. He has all of those qualities, and that's why he's the guy I'm looking at. As far as skill position, I'm gonna go with Tajon Palmer. That's the guy I'm going. Not Palmer. Is it Palmer?
Yeah, Tajon Palmer.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I'm getting. Oh yeah, we have a Jordan Palmer. I was getting them confused, but yeah, Tajon Palmer. Yeah, I'm gonna go with him. Just seeing him in person, every time I saw him, I was like, he looks like a dude. He just does.
Yeah, I saw he's gonna get some catches this year. Let me rephrase that. He's gonna get a lot of catches. He looks good, dude. Having him, have Schropp on one side and then having him on the other side, I can't wait to see what these wide receivers do. And hey, right. I got to see Ron Davis, man. Ron Davis is back, so got to say hey to him. So he looked good, man. I mean, like I said, it was a light practice. They were just in shorts, but still, man, it was just great to see him back on the field.
Yeah, and there's so many receivers that's gonna have an opportunity to be that guy, like T.J. Jones and Dexter Boykin. Yes. I'm excited. I'm excited to see all of these guys, to see exactly what they do. Samario Rudolph looked really quick, and I think they finally have him in a defined role.
Yes,
to where he can show his skills and abilities.
Agreed. Well, all right, Darion. Were you ready to jump into our special teams preview for the 2022 season?
Yeah, so let's give those guys some love. Let's give some punters, kickers, long snappers. Let's give them a little bit of love.
Hey, Trey Ragland, if you listening, you got your own episode, man. We didn't put you on the defense episode. We put the special teams on their own. Well, granted, we did talk about a lot of other stuff, but still.
Yeah, here you go. Y'all got your own thing. We appreciate y'all because guess what? In the most clutch moments, that's who we depend on.
That's right, man. You can win or lose a game on special teams.
It always comes down to a block punt or a punt that flip the field late in the fourth quarter, or a kick that can put you up 2 points.
Mm-hmm.
When it all boils down to it, it comes down to them, even though they don't do as much practicing as we do.
Hey, you said that, not me. All right, well, hey, let's just go ahead and jump into these kickers. And obviously it starts with Matt Quinn, redshirt junior. He's back. Last year he was 11 of 16 on his field goal attempts, including a career-long 52-yard field goal against Southern Miss. Nice. Hey, really big things, and I expect hopefully even more things this year. I mean, you go back to that Marshall game in 2020 in the championship. I mean, without those field goals, we wouldn't have won that game. A lot of people like to call him Matty Ice because when the game's on his shoulders, he's proven. But I definitely expect just even more great things out of Quinn again. And you go back to even just extra points. He was 49 of 50 on extra points for the season. I know he's still thinking about that one he missed, but hey, he's back. The one that got away, man. But he's back. I expect good things out of him. You look at the kickoff guy, Reese Burkhart. I mean, this was a guy who he played in all 13 games last year. It lead, as the Blazers kickoff guy. He recorded 76 kickoffs for a total for 41 touchbacks out of those 76, and an average of about 59 on his kickoff is his average. So I love a guy. You remember Vogeltron? I mean, it seems like every time he booted into the end zone, he did great things in the USFL this spring.
Right.
But it seems that UAB is always blessed with a really good kickoff guy, and I think we got that with sophomore Reese Burkhart and expect him again this year. And you've even got some guys behind him that could perform. You've got Ty Long's younger brother, he's on. But hey, I definitely like what I see out of our kickers with Matt Quinn kicking the field goals and extra points, and Reese Burkhart on those kickoffs.
Right. I wonder how much pressure it was on Matt Quinn coming in after Nick Vogel. And speaking of Nick, and shout out to him, I was able to talk to him during the scrimmage. He super cool. Just give me an update on everything what's going on. Pretty cool. But I just know like coming after like Nick Vogel and Ty Long, I wonder how much pressure that was for him, and for him to come in and perform like he has been. That's pretty major.
Yeah, and if there is any pressure, hey, he's not showing it. So he's performing well, and I expect him to continue to perform well. So great thing, and hey, we don't want to forget about our punters. Kyle, you don't want to see him on the field, but when you do, you want a guy like Kyle Greenwell. He's back at the punting position, and hey, and this guy, Kyle, he was named on the Ray Guy Award watch list, which for those that don't know, I mean that goes out to the nation's top punter every year. So it's great to have him on that watch list. I mean, and the guy, he just does his thing. Last year he averaged 42 yards a punt with about a net average of 38.4. So it's always great to, it's never great to have your punter on the field, but when you get them on the field and they're as reliable as Kyle Greenwell is to pin the opposing team deep within their red zone, hey, you can't really ask for a better guy than Kyle Greenwell.
It's deflating when you know that the other team's punter is like awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you do all of this work, that they can accurately pin you within the 10-yard line. They can pin you back, and they can punt, or they can just boot the heck out of the ball and flip the field on you.
And that's what's important. Yeah.
And not only boot it far, but like put some airtime underneath it, so that there's no chance of return. Right. I mean, that's as a player, that's deflating. Like if you do all of this work and it's like, all right, we're gonna get good field position. No, not really. Not giving you any good field position because you have a special punter back there. So I want people to have the proper appreciation for a punter, because a punter can really be the difference in the game. So if a punter is granting you an extra 15, 20 yards, that's 2 first downs. That's two more drives that an offense have to convert, and then you can get a sack or a turnover or anything because that punter afforded you that ability. So I just want everybody to have the proper appreciation for a punter, because they can most definitely, especially in a defensive battle, they most definitely are the difference of the game.
Agreed. And almost just as important as the punter is the long snapper. Unless, UAB's got a couple great long snappers, actually. Redshirt junior Cole Kazaya is back as a long snapper. And, we mentioned that 2020 Conference USA Championship game against Marshall. I mean, this was a guy that came in because Jacob Fuqua, was unable to make the game. And Kazaya came in right away and handled snapping duties and was able to help Quinn get those kicks in and the punts off from Kyle Greenwell. This was a guy that was a Conference USA honorable mention. I mean, he handled the snapping duties for all 13 games last year for UAB, and even recorded a tackle, I believe. Yep, recorded a tackle. So, hey, there you go. You like a guy, hey, snap that ball. Hey,
the boom on him.
You love to see it.
Yeah, but it's great. The best thing about a long snapper, if you're not hearing anything about them, because that means they're
doing their job. Yep.
They're doing their job. You're not supposed to. You don't want to hear about, hey, you don't want to hear a color analyst going, hey, man, what's going on with the snap?
No.
That's the last thing you want to hear. You want to see, snap is off and kick is good. That's all you want to hear. So if you're not hearing anything about a long snapper, that means they are doing their job effectively.
Definitely. And hey, and there's a guy behind him too, that a redshirt freshman, Xander Eccles. I mean, this was a long snapper that was an All-America player at Chelsea High School. So I know, he's ready too. So when his name's called. So, but really, it's really great for UAB to have 2 extremely talented long snappers, because really as a center, I mean, hey, I don't think centers get enough love I know you can probably agree with that. The centers don't get enough love, but hey, long snappers don't get enough love. But it's like you just said, like you really don't hear their name unless something goes wrong. If they have a bad snapper, or if they snap a ball before they're supposed to, so the best thing is for you not to hear about them. And I think they would agree with us.
Exactly, and I know the pressure of getting the snap off and doing it right, and it's everybody. Everybody thinks it's automatic. It's not. It's not breathing. It's not something that just happens. You have to practice it. I have botched snaps in my life. Like I have botched them in critical moments. I know the pressure. It ain't. It's not like it's. You're not trying to. People just have all these questions like, "Oh, why did this happen?" And be like, I don't know. Like I didn't try. You think I tried to do that? So
Right.
I know the pressure. Like imagine if it's 2 seconds left and y'all down 2 points and y'all got a 41-yard field goal to win the game. You don't think they feel that? Like you think they want to mess up? They want it to be perfect. So shout out to all my special team guys. Especially like just coming down to it. A lot of times the game come down to y'all. And especially in these tight games, it's worn in the details, and you can always point to special teams, not only the punters, kickers, but in the return game as well.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and get into that return game. And really, I think this year it's going to be Jermaine Brown and Starling Thomas again returning punts and kicks. And I'm telling you, man, like Starling, he was so close a couple of times for breaking it away and getting a touchdown. Like I think he's going to get one. He's going to get hopefully one, but hopefully more than that, this year, because he's got the speed and he's got the shiftiness, and Skull does too. But hey, I think Starling's going to take one back to the house this year.
Yeah, like I said, I remember mentioning it in one of the pods. I think the defensive pod, talking to some of the strength and conditioning guys. Like one of the first names I hear is Starling Thomas. How fast he is! Like it was talking about the team speed in general, but he was like the guy to mention on the team speed. And it's like guys running up to 24 miles per hour. Like just blazing. And they said that he even picked up more speed. He put in more work, just training hard on top of what he's already had. So they know that they've seen a faster Starling Thomas, and they expect him to take at least one back this year.
Definitely. Well, that is our special teams preview, and like Darion just mentioned a few minutes ago. I mean, but people don't realize how important special teams is. But I mean, it's arguably almost just, if not more important than offense and defense, because that special teams group is either going to get you, points through the kicking game, points through the return game, but it's also even, it's going to help flip the field and give your, just suffocate the opposing offense having to start within their own 10-yard line or 5-yard line, wherever, and I think
you remember Michigan State.
When they block it and win the game. That's right. Hey, ask Michigan fans. They know about it.
You remember that, yeah. So special teams is important.
And hey, going back to 2017, blocking that Louisiana Tech field goal to win the game.
Good one. I still remember the sound of when he blocked it. It just boom, it echoed throughout the stadium, and it just went crazy.
I'm telling you, man, I think that's one of the loudest I've ever heard Legion Field. And I mean, I've been to a bunch of games there, and there might not have been 70,000 people there, but man, everybody went crazy after that.
Yeah, it's a special moment. Speaking of our fans, this is a real quick tidbit. It was cool seeing Jackson Bratton, the linebacker transfer. Steve did an article about him. It was cool to see him notice, like, hey man, there's something special about this place. Like the way that we embrace each other. It's a real, like, everybody likes each other. Like, so it goes to show you, like, a lot of those bigger places, they might have some of those P5 schools, they might have the quantity, they might have more people, but the quality here is different. It's like, oh, they really care about me. And like, so that's the difference being here. People really care about you. So I know that was a quick tidbit. I just want to throw that in.
No, I'm glad you brought that up, because I actually had it in my notes to bring up Jackson Bratton when you were talking. We were discussing about Zeno earlier in the show, and how you said he was engaged, and I saw that obviously too. But what I've noticed from Bratton and Zeno, these are two guys that came from very good Power 5 programs that transferred into UAB. They're looking around at UAB and like, hey, these guys have the dudes too. I mean, some of
Right.
these transfers come in, like as you mentioned earlier, that, hey, I'm going to come into a quote unquote G5 school and I'm going to run the ship. No, man, you've got these very talented quote unquote power 5 players transferring in, and they're saying, hey, man, this place is special. This is just as, good as, some of these power 5 teams I've been on. So it's great to see that, the family atmosphere, the competitive atmosphere that Bryant Vincent seems to be breeding here at UAB so far. It's great to see.
Right. You took the words right out of my mouth, man. Ain't too much to add. Just for them to say, oh, y'all got the dudes here too. And it ain't no y'all just as big, y'all just as fast. Like I said, I remember going around to our guys, I'm like, these dudes way bigger than us, like way faster than we were, aren't they? They like, yeah, and I'm just talking about we always had some starters, but after that, it wasn't much like we looking at 3 guys at one position. And
right.
like Jackson was saying, they have 5 guys at linebacker, 6 guys at linebacker, and they all can play. So yeah, but that's probably another pod. We'll go deep into that if we keep on going. So
definitely. Well, we've got just a couple things as we hit the 35-minute mark, but we've got a couple things we want to discuss today, and that's just what Darion and I kind of expect are the UAB 2022 season expectations, and then also the 2022 Conference USA expectations as UAB plays its last year of football in Conference USA. But Darion, let's just talk about UAB season in general. What do you think? What's the ceiling for this team? What's the floor for this team? Or what are you expecting? And I guess we can just have a few minute dialogue about what we anticipate this season being.
So, of course, the ceiling for this team is championship.
Yes. That's what it's about, man. Hey.
That's what it's about. Conference championship. That's the ceiling for this team. Who is our out of conference this year? Is it LSU?
So yeah, the money game is LSU. That's our Power 5 road game. But what I think is kind of even more important than the LSU game is the at Liberty week 2. Like, for some of the players, hey, it is going to be a revenge game. They ruined our stadium grand opening this past year, but that is such a big game, week 2. Like, you're going to Lynchburg, Virginia, and you're trying to take on, Hugh Freeze and the Liberty Flames as they're independent, but they're transitioning into Conference USA next year, as UAB is playing its last year in Conference USA and transitioning to the American Conference next year. I mean, it's not a conference game, so it's not as important as the conference games. But believe me, this game, I think, UAB, should win the game. It's going to be tough, but UAB should win the game. But I think that game right there is one that I've got highlighted on the schedule. And really the conference game, 2 conference games that I have highlighted on the 2022 schedule is, of course, November 5th against UTSA. That's going to be a huge game, and I do think that game will decide the conference, who gets into the championship game. But another one I have is at Western Kentucky, Friday night, October 21st. Like, I mean, I remember back in 2019 going to Bowling Green and, unfortunately UAB losing that game, a very close, hard-fought game against the Hilltoppers. I do think Western Kentucky won't be as good as they were last year because they do lose just so much on the offensive side of the ball.
No Bailey Zapp. No Zapp.
No Zappy. You lost your offensive coordinator. You lost your best wide receiver. And you lose D'Angelo Malone on the defensive side of the ball, the defensive front. I do think they will take a step back, but that is just a very important game. With it being a Friday night game too, like I really have that one highlighted. But of course, the UTSA game. I mean, that's got to be highlighted. That's going to decide who gets in the Conference USA Championship, and who knows? I mean, with it being only an 11-team conference this year, you could face somebody again that you played, so hey, maybe they can meet again in the championship game. And this is just Darion and I speaking on the podcast. Of course, the coaches are saying, what are they saying, Darion? Take it one game at a time.
Right.
So they're dialed in on Alabama A&M.
This is us being able to be fans. Like, this is us being able to be fans of the game. So the players and coaches got to handle it one way. Us as fans, we get to do. This is what we do. And I like being on this side of it. I mean, I agree with you early. I think that Liberty game will say, like, I do really expect us to really go up there and take that game because
Me too.
last year it seemed like a lot of Malik Willis magic.
And who do they not have this year?
They don't have that guy. Trust me, it was him, and he was making a lot of plays for them. He was very special. That probably was his best game he played.
It was. I think so. And that's all you. Hey, during the NFL draft, like it hurt like watching because there was like all the highlights they would show was of that game, and I'm like, man, I don't want to see that anymore.
He really showed his stuff on it, but they don't have him. I think we're a deeper team. I think we have more speed to be able to deal with guys like that this year versus last year, and we were dealing with a lot of injuries at that time. Mm-hmm. But I do think that's going to be important. Of course, the Alabama A&M game. I'm interested in seeing us if we're going to start off as sound as I saw in the scrimmage. I want to see that continue. I don't want to see us let off the gas because it's Alabama. No, I want us to play ball. I want us to play UAB football no matter who we play against, and I want us to do it without. I don't want to see the penalties this year.
Yeah, that's another thing.
That killed us so much. It was so many. How many games did we see last year where it was like a penalty taking back a touchdown or a penalty wiping a sack away or a turnover? Like it killed us. Penalty getting us behind the chains all the time.
Yeah, so many head scratching moments. Like, really, why did we have to do that? I mean, I get, obviously I get being aggressive and you want your team to be aggressive, but there's a line where it's like, okay, hey, it's been 4 seconds since he threw that ball. You don't need to touch that quarterback.
Exactly. And we put ourselves in a whole bunch of situations that we shouldn't have been in. And I'm pretty sure penalties, at least last year, decided at least two games.
Yeah,
I would say, give or take. So if we can just, from what I saw at the scrimmage and what Brian Vincent has been saying, is if we can continue that type of play, I think that is so much of an underrated improvement. You know what? I won't even say underrated because Blazer fans.
No, and hey, you look at the stats too. I mean, UAB 2021. I mean, we were like in the top 5 of most penalized teams, so it definitely showed. Like, but I agree with you, Darion. Like, I think Vincent, like from what I've seen, from what you've seen in the scrimmage, I don't anticipating having. I mean, you'll always have maybe one kind of dumb penalty because I mean, maybe you don't really know what's going on, but I definitely don't. I definitely expect not to see as many as we have in the years past.
Because guys are replaceable this year.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't want to use or play with any kind of IQ this year, you can be replaced by a guy. And I'm not saying that I'm saying that I'm saying that as a compliment to the competition.
Yeah. And I think the guys know that too. Like I think they know. Yeah. So they know, hey, you got Bratton saying, hey, there's this linebacker unit is 5-6 deep. Like, hey, I think they know it. So they know not to make any dumb mistakes.
Right. So it's just to go back and all that in context is I believe that I believe the ceiling is championship. I believe the expectation is championship. I truly believe that, but I also want to see us take that leap forward in those out of conference games. So
me too.
If it's a P5, LSU, whatever, we can win that. We have the talent, we have the depth. We can show that we belong over there with y'all. We can beat y'all. We are a threat. Stop looking at us as a quote unquote money team or no. Anybody that's in this team, Jackson and Jacob Zeno and Steve Irvine, you saw the team. Anybody that sees them, they can tell, like, hey, these guys, we are just as big. We are just as fast. And we belong to be in the AAC.
Yes.
Not only do we belong to be there because we used to play all those teams anyway.
Right.
But not only do we belong to be there, but we can lead that conference. Mm-hmm. Like, I really believe, I feel like we should go over there. I want to see us be the UAB we are now here in CUSA. I want us to be the same thing over there, and I believe we got the talent and the ability to do that.
I agree with you. And obviously, but just like you said, I'd love to, hopefully have a shot at beating LSU, hopefully beat LSU, but hopefully, just to be competitive in that ball game, show that we belong on the same field. But I do think that Liberty game week 2 is probably my most, if you had to pick a non-conference game that is the most important, I would probably pick at Liberty, because if you win that, beat Alabama A&M, you go into Lynchburg and beat Liberty 2-0. You got to think we beat Georgia Southern since they're getting away from the triple option. That's going to be a couple-year process under the guy that left USC. But I think that Liberty game is just so important. And obviously the most important Conference USA game is going to be that UTSA. Yeah. So,
but they got to come here this year. They got to come here, baby.
They got a bye week before us, though. So Judy gave them that bye before us. So
it's all right. It's okay. But another one that I got circled, and they have the coolest. They have cool fans from the ones that I'm able to see anyway. But Rice.
Hey, we got some business to take care of them. Hey,
we got some business to take. I'm not letting Rice slide with that, man, because you know what? Like I said, Rice is cool. Rice is not. Listen, Rice isn't like Southern Miss. Like those type of, like Rice, they Southern Miss fans go another, that's another story. But Rice fans, they're cool. But Rice did it. They kind of flapped their gums a little bit after that win. Like they bully, like, hey, they thought they were going to do this and that. And a lot of that was led by their head coach. And I'm like, these dudes doing a little bit too much talking for my liking.
Now, see, I agree, though. Now, to give Mike Bloomgren some respect, I mean, the last 2 years, Rice has really each year had one really good win. I mean, you go back to the 2020 season when they beat Marshall, when I think Marshall was ranked in the top 25, beat them, and then, somehow managed to get out of Protective Stadium last year and beat a heck of a UAB football team in Protective Stadium. But yeah, I've got that one kind of circled as well. And that being the first conference game too, UAB coming off of a bye week after the Georgia Southern game and starting it on the road in Houston, but got to think that the guys are going to be dialed in for that game.
Got to get them. We got to get them. So yeah, those are my expectations and things I'm looking forward to.
And hey, I agree 100%. I think it's Conference USA championship or bust. Like, I mean, but that's what Coach Vincent had said. He said time and time again, like, these are the expectations of the UAB football program that Coach Clark set. We want to compete year in and year out for the conference championship, and not only compete for it, but go and win the championship. So that is definitely my expectations for this year is go play for that championship game. Hopefully have it at Protective Stadium and go get the win.
Right.
But,
yeah.
But just a couple minutes, Dan. What do you think? How do you see CUSA sorting out this year? Do you see it UAB UTSA or what do you see?
Yeah, because I mean, defensively UTSA lost a lot, but they do have Wisdom coming back, but they lost a lot else, depth wise defensively. But on offense, UTSA got a lot. I mean, they lost Sincere McCormick. That was the guy there. But I mean, they got most of their offensive line coming back. They got Frank Harris at quarterback, who is very good. And they got him coming back, and they have their receiving core. That receiving core was very, very good, to say the least.
Oh yeah, there's some playmakers on that team. Yeah.
They had some playmakers up there, and they returned all three of them. So I mean, you got to think that's the team to beat. Now, when they need us, it's going to be interesting because I think we have the defense to contain their offense at least. We'll see where we at health-wise. I mean, that's way down the line. So both teams, injuries are a part of the game. It's going to be the case for both teams. That's why I love our depth, especially on defense. On defense, guys are going to go down. That's what it is. But if we have one corner go down, we have good guys to come in and replace them. And we have the depth everywhere on the defense. So I think the story is going to be our defense versus their offense, but I think our offense in that regard is better than their defense, if that makes sense. If we're looking at skills,
it does. Yeah, it does.
And so I think our overall game play we'll be able to conquer theirs, even though they're right there on our heels because they've just returned so much. They got so much experience. They're playing big games. So I think that's going to be a good team. I'm interested to see about Western Kentucky.
Yes.
Like, as you noted, that's one of the games you got highlighted as one of the big games. So I want to see what they're going to look like after losing their offensive coordinator and after losing Bailey over there, and then they lose the receiver as well.
Yes, they did. They lost a few guys. Yeah.
Yeah, I know they had one big time. Can't think of his name right now. But they had one guy that was awesome at receiver, and they lost a lot on defense too. I wonder where Western Kentucky is going to be at. I kind of don't know where to place them on this pecking order. We're going to have to kind of see what play it out.
Definitely.
What you think about Western Kentucky? What you expecting?
I mean, so with Western, I think they'll have a little drop back. I've seen some people say that they will be contending again for the Conference USA at the top. I don't think so. I think they'll be kind of middle of the pack in Conference USA this year, and especially too losing D'Angelo Malone on the defensive line. Like that guy was a playmaker coming off the edge for the Hilltoppers.
Major.
So, but I did want to just mention real quick. Well, I agree with you that I do think it's going to be UAB UTSA. But a quick note on UTSA, Darion. I mean, this is a team that this is not inconceivable to think, but they can start the season 0-3 because you look at the start of their schedule. They open up at home in the Alamo Dome against Houston, but this Houston is going to be a very talented team this year. Second week, they got to go to Army, which that's going to be. That's going to be another thing up at West Point.
That's going to be a brawl. That's like playing in a phone booth. That's going to be a brawl.
And they kind of took it to them in the Alamo Dome last year. And then the week 3, you got to go to Texas to play. To go to Austin, Texas. So if they start 0-3, is there a chance that the wheels start to fall off and the team maybe just say forget it? I don't think so, but you got to think like if you start 0-3, like maybe there's some doubt in the minds, like hey, maybe we're not as good, and maybe they start tanking. I don't think that'll happen. I just thought that was worth bringing up on the show when discussing CUSA and UTSA. So hey, if they somehow start 0-3, then that tank. I mean, they could kind of fall off real quick if they can't get it together. Yeah,
but. North Texas last year started off like 1-6 or something.
And then rattled off 5 in a row and beat UTSA. Yeah, so you never know.
Yeah, they ended up beating UTSA. So, but as a player, if you start off 0-3, I can tell you because I've been on part of losing team. I mean, UAB, one of the UAB teams I was on was like a losing team. It messes with your psyche. Even if you're I was one of the leaders, the guys that was going to go out there and play hard every game. I wasn't going to be any doubt. You do start kind of wondering about some of your teammates. Like if you are that type of guy that, hey, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to play. I got so much to play for. I'm playing for this team. But that start creeping in your mind. Like, do y'all want it like I do? Like who can I really depend on? It becomes fractured. And, if you're a team that's dependent on cohesiveness and unity and love and brotherhood, if that gets fractured, it's kind of hard to make it through. So that's a good point. I didn't even notice that. I do think that's a possibility.
And again, hey, nothing but respect for the Roadrunners and what Jeff Traylor has done just in a couple years there in San Antonio. But definitely like that, I think they've got the hardest first part of the schedule. Well, Rice has really a hard, brutal schedule too. But yeah, just looking at UTSA, hey, won the championship last year in the conference, but you start 0-3. And you might start doubting, having some doubts on the team. So just something to look at. And real quick, too, I did have 2 surprise teams out of Conference USA this year. And I think, you just mentioned North Texas. I do expect them to have a decent year, and maybe they could make a run for competing for the championship. But also Charlotte, Will Healy, he brings back Chris Reynolds at quarterback. Maybe they can get some things going in the right direction. Just barely missed a bowl game last year going 5-7, but having Chris Reynolds back is huge. And maybe expect them to, kind of take that next step. And let's be honest, Darion, we want these teams. I mean, obviously we're going to we want to beat these teams, but we want these programs to start trending in the right direction. You know, we want Rice to start doing better. We want Charlotte to start doing better because these teams are coming to the American with us, you know, so we want them to start kind of heading into the American Conference, so we can just have a great conference in the American. But that's about it on Conference USA, I think, from me at least.
I'm interested to see. I'm interested to see if UTEP keeps their momentum going.
Good point. Good point. Yep. You got to show us again.
Right. I'm not sure. I don't think I bought it all the way.
They had an easy schedule last year too.
Yeah. So let's see. Come on. Let's like you said. Let's show us again. I think I'm interested to see if I want to see what direction FAU goes.
Good point. Yeah, good point.
I feel like they're like middling. You know, it's like, you know, in the NBA when you have teams like the Indiana Pacers, or you have those teams that's just kind of like the Charlotte Hornets. It's kind of just like, you know, like, are you a playoff team, or if you are in the playoff, you're like an 8 seed. That's kind of where I see FAU and teams like that. Like, it's N'Kosi Perry really. Is he? You know, I don't know. You know, I think North Texas will trend up. I got faith in them. I think Charlotte. I have my eye on Charlotte. I mean, FAU, Middle Tennessee,
Middle Tennessee. That's just a program that's trending in the wrong direction. La Tech. I mean, Hey, what's the coach's name? What's the new coach? Sonny Cumbie, coming from Texas Tech. Hey, what's he going to do with this program now that Skip Holtz isn't there anymore? So I want to see it. Yeah, show me what you're right. Got.
So the only team I just expect to just be down bad is FIU.
Yeah, FIU is just a door. I mean, that's a bad athletic program right now.
It is what it is. Let's keep it real.
Exactly.
It's just a bad program, man. It's just not. You know, I'm pretty sure.
Hey, but Eric Henry does a great job covering that the beat for that team through Underdog Dynasty. So shout out Eric if you're listening to this. I don't know if you are, but shout out.
You fighting a good fight, my brother. But, you know, so I'm interested to see like what directions certain teams take, because I do think it's a lot of middling, and you know, a lot of middling teams. You know, you take I was about to say Marshall, but you take FAU leading that pack of the middling teams, Western Kentucky, all these ways. So I do think it's a clear hierarchy. UAB, UTSA, they could be upset by a Charlotte type of team. They could Charlotte, and I'll put Charlotte in North Texas because the way North Texas ended the year.
Yes.
But I'm not buying into the UTEP hype.
No.
But I mean, they could force people to buy stock about how they played this year. You know, they got some good momentum going. So maybe. Other than that, I'm not really, you know, I don't feel really, you know, we'll see.
Yeah. And hey, this Saturday, we've got some football on week 0 in Conference USA that you guys can check out some of these teams. Charlotte and FAU play this week. North Texas and UTEP play this week. And also Western Kentucky plays against Austin Peay. But, you got some Conference USA action, so we'll be able to watch some of these teams a little bit this weekend. And, you know,
let's go.
I'm ready. So, and Darion, at the beginning of the show, I said we was going to have, 30 minutes? We're at about an hour now. So,
I think we just love talking football, man.
That's what it is. Hey, somewhere Steve Irvine is chuckling because I told him when I brought you on, I said, Steve, I'm not going to have any more than long episodes again. And look at us. We've gone over an hour, for 3 weeks in a row.
Yeah, I think that's just a good showing of our chemistry, though. Like, we have great chemistry. I enjoy talking to you every time, whether it's on the pod or off the pod. So,
that's right.
Yeah, man, that's all it is.
All right, buddy. Well, you want to go ahead and close us out?
Hey, y'all already know. Blazer Nation, let's ride. Go Blazers.